We did it, lads! 5 games. I want to go to bed early again. No, I'm not allowed to do that. V3 Esports, Sengoku Gaming said, guys, we don't have to win on red side, only blue side, and that's where we're at. Silver Scrapes, Mars Swan, Initialize, Nightmare. Gentlemen, I'm full of energy. I've got a lot of caffeine thrown through my veins right now, and what is going on, guys? It's like a YouTube introduction here.
Let me offer you a picture, ladies and gentlemen. And it goes a little like this. You're on blue side. You get a champion called Udyr, who may or may not have been quite strong for quite a while now. And your jungler gets to go invade, despite not having lane priority, and murder the enemy jungler by messing with the blast cone and having his support, who had no flash, by the way, hex flashing over the wall and getting first blood. At which point, the opposing jungler appears to use a protractor and move to the 90-degree angle. At which point, the game ends up becoming really difficult because your bot side, which is supposed to be super good and got an early CS lead, did not get ahead the way they wanted to. And it all goes wrong real fast. Muujin gets a lead, the rest of the map gets a lead, Aphelios ends up behind, and Hollow and Samira gets to work out. It's all off Blue Seed and Udyr. It's a wonderful chain of events. A butterfly flapping its wings in Tokyo leads to the LJL with this pick and ban phase.
It's an absolute fest over here. Let's be real here. Like we can call
the
it
LJL finds a way.
It really does. I'm waiting for Paz or someone to pull out an Urgot, but like I guess we're gonna have to wait till summer to see that one because hey, the rework and the buffs might be incoming for them. So hey, we're in a weird spot. Hecarim is still 100% presence because ban. Like oh god, Nymera, what is going on?
Don't ask me. I've got no clue. No. Yeah, it's
very glad we're not official there.
Yeah, I look at these drafts and I'm just continually perplexed at the priorities that some of these teams have on stuff away from Seraphim, which we know can single-handedly prop up your late game to the point where you just can't fight anymore. I do think that the Sylas pick adds a difficulty to that. Don't get me wrong. I think that is actually something you need to be aware of, and I think that these teams now are aware of because Ramonade kind of tore Sengoku tore V3 rather a new one with his ultimates when it came in. I am so surprised this has gone to 5 games like the rest of you. I think that Red Side being this week is not something I really thought would be exemplified to this extent. It does just look like these teams are so practiced at drafting on blue side and then just give over some really strange picks on red. And I think, as Sam's saying, having Udyr on the blue side has been a really big pick. And I think now, if you are V3, do you just consider just getting rid of it?
I think... Go for it.
I think I'll also just add in, I don't think either of these teams is particularly fond of looking to give major counter picks on red side to their solo laners a lot of the time because things like people
Especially
put so much priority. Yeah, particularly not top because the bot lanes have been such high priority, and rightly so. Honestly, both these AD carries have had really good games. Honestly, both these bot lanes have had really good games, and a lot of how the games have been won is one jungler or one bot lane getting ahead. For V3, that's come with the additional caveat if they needed Muujin to get ahead first, but it has worked out that way pretty well, and I think the part of the power of Red Side, right, is that last pick, is that last counter pick, right? That's just not having the same value in the current meta right now when it's not the counter pick that's winning you games, it's the first round picks of AD carries and junglers that are winning you games.
I want to bring in a big point between the LCS and the LJL. The LCS is playing on the same patch as us, so 11.5, and so we're getting a lot of reps in on this patch. So it's good to make mild comparisons between the two, at least when it comes from a champion kind of meta game. We are yet to see a Renekton be hovered in this series. But it hasn't been banned a single time in the first rotation.
Very true. Which
is an interesting point because it has 100% presence over in the LCS, whereas it's not even at 50% over in the LJL. Yeah. This was at before this series, so obviously when stats come in...
It's escaped the first round of bans this time too.
Well, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen, as we're in that pick and ban phase? So gentlemen, take it away.
Let's set up a decent conversation to be having during this pick and ban as we are into our final game. We got a little caught out during that discussion, but that's no matter because myself and Nymera can continue it has Maswan teed it up. First pick, Thresh was the answer. V3 just go back to the Rel, and Samira. Bot lane has been the priority. Bot lane is the focus again. Crash goes towards the Olaf. Udyr and Hecarim were banned by V3. We kind of wondered.
Of course,
Thresh of Felios. There is the Olaf, but now they've got to find out what they want in the jungle. Ace is thinking about going to the Azir, and Ace's Azir has been suspect, but instead it's Muujin's old faithful. He is a hell of a Nidalee player. He's run over games on it. The carries haven't been the way forwards for junglers. It's been the tankier, initiating frontline options that have carried games thus far. But Muujin on a Nidalee is a different style and immediately leads to a Renekton ban.
That it does. I'd imagine we might see ourselves a Volibear ban too from the side of Sengoku, just because it's another point-and-click stun ability, which can set up for the Nidalee effectively. It's not going to be that. It's going to be the Zoe instead, denying a double poke combo, spear, paddle star after the bubble lands. Does tend to lead to deleted health bars. Now we are really rushing through this pick and ban phase. V3, what are they picking for now? Can they flex anything, or are they just going to leave it up to blind picks?
Do they want to blind? Do they want to blind pick mid or top?
Karma could be something.
Vice versa. Do they want counter pick for mid or top? They're going to go towards the Twisted Fate. It's a good combo with Nidalee. Setup for the spear is always appreciated. Setup in 2 lanes now between the Rel and the Twisted Fate is good. Rise for the first time in this series, but Ramane, the last time he pulled this out, he got the triple-double kill, ran over that game in the last one versus the Hawks. Really had a fantastic performance. And honestly, Ramane has been pretty good this series. Outside of that last game, I think he's honestly come out ahead mostly from the laning phase. Karthus being hovered here.
So Karthus top is not so
massive
for
risk.
quite some time.
Well, that would have been a pick. Instead, it will be the Scion, which I think makes significantly more sense.
Pick sets. Game set and match. Here. That's what I'm looking for. V3.
I mean, Cho'Gath again. I wouldn't hate here.
No,
Volibear for Cog is an old faithful for him as well, but it's not been that great. Honestly, with the Volibear, it is, however, more ways to dive, more setup. It's great early pick in every lane now between the Nidalee and the Twisted Fate turning up to a side lane. You can make tower dives very, very destructive wherever you turn up, and the teleports from a Twisted Fate and a Volibear turning up bot lane to punish the Aphelios, who has, of course, run cleanse again here, and rightly so, honestly, with the amount of CC against him, could be what V3 need, despite being on red side, which has been pretty low win rate. In fact, a 0% win rate thus far in the series.
Yep, that's the kicker right there. So we have ourselves final game of the day, final game of, well, I suppose this culmination of the lower bracket. Sam, since last Saturday, because this has gone to 5 games, this is my 27th game in 7 days. If these players are running ragged, so am I. I feel it. I really feel it in my bones at this point, and those of you in chat, absolutely let us know what you think of this series, who you want to win going into this final game. Will it be that blue side 100% win rate, or is there a final twist in this best of 5 story?
It's been the likes of Olafs and Udyrs that have run over a lot of these games. I worry a little bit for the Nidalee, though. Maybe it's the breath of fresh air needed to secure the victory on red side. We'll wait and see, of course. Nidalee's got set up in every lane. Twisted Fate can turn up to set up either side lane as well. That's great news for V3, but for Sengoku, Felios Thresh again. It's Ramane on this Rise who can play the side lane a little better as well. This 1-4 from this squad gets very dangerous. And if it does hit team fights at an even state, Rise and Aphelios, with the front line they have, I think gets the edge to me in those team fights if V3 can't get the picks.
And, well, speaking of those picks, I mean, how easy is it to pick someone like a Rise who has Phase Rush, can go towards, Merc Treads, and I would imagine this is a game for Merc Treads. I'm looking again at Reiner, because you can start throwing gold cards, you can start throwing stuff out and looking for it, but if you fail to catch either the Aphelios or the Rise, if they're stood apart from each other, they can turn things around. I think this is a really important pick for Ramane, because last game, it was Ramane struggling to impact the map, struggling to get onto the right end of the fights for Sengoku, and this time having a pick which does naturally gain lane priority against so many different picks and will do against this Twisted Fate too. This can be a pick for this, again, former all-star international representative Ramane to get themselves a mark on this game.
Well, he'll need to reprise some of his earlier performances. Ace had a fantastic game 4. Certainly one of the major components about winning in that game, particularly in the late game. Those bubbles, those paddle stars were meteoric in their damage, I think it's fair to say, because they were certainly coming in from orbit, it felt like. And come to see whether we can reprise it here on the Twisted Fate. Got the options, got the comp to make it work, I guess, but it's still not going to be the easiest thing, as we've kind of called out.
Close.
Twitter giving that slight edge to Sengoku Gaming. 60-40 is the divide. On this bot lane, what surprise? Aphelios, Thresh get themselves the early advantage, probably level 2 off this next wave.
Reiner did a quick skill check and said, all right, let's check if your flays are on point. And they were from NC. Got himself onto that on foot form right now, which means that can, of course, use the mount up if they see an opportunity, but unlikely to fight into, of course, as you were saying, the early level up from this 2v2. So important in those duo lanes, particularly for the Aphelios, which gets them stuff like that. The Calibrum Q coming out, just keep stacking up the Conqueror, keep stacking up again and again. Just means that you just win out in damage. And again, just being able to use the Calibrum to get the extra auto attacks every now and then, keeping up the offensive stats, meaning that you can keep pushing the wave with the extra AD you've got, keep trading back with the extra auto attack. It's so important for this 2v2, and the pressure is relentless right now from Sengoku.
Absolutely is. You can see Cog has got the early shove in against Sion. Again, no real surprise there, but top lane has rarely decided these games. Rarely indeed. It's all been around the bot lanes, and to an extent, the mid and jungle's coming up to affect the bot lanes. And thus far, both junglers have passed, again, from top to bot to be around these very volatile, very high carry potential bot lanes. And Crash will be here first, but it's not like Muujin is all that far away. And Scuttle Crab fights look like to be the name of the game.
So I think Muujin going to have to give this one up. So important thing to note, this is an electrocute Nidalee. This isn't the Conqueror. It's less about the dueling in the jungle, more about getting assassination onto one of these lanes. And I think that I have to agree with that. You have to try and use Gold Card into Nidalee's Spear, either within their own lane or somewhere else. This is going to be the Scuttles fought over, but Muujin has not been quick enough to the play. This, again, is looking to have to be that Gold Card into Spear. Where are they going to find it?
They've got to be very careful here. I'm a little frozen out for a second, so I'm going to have to wait and see how this goes, but that's going to be a lot of damage back. Muujin taken very low, but first blood with the flash. In the healing from Olaf, too much. Ace now over the wall. Going to think probably likely to escape here because Cog is around as well. So they will get the Scuttle Crab, but they lose a member for it, which is not what you want to see. The jungler that's got the early edge has been able to snowball the rest of the map. Muujin on the Nidalee, on the carry again. It happened on the Graves. It's happened this game. He dies for first blood after the mid jungle 2v2 goes awfully wrong.
That he does. And it's so often when V3 have won, it has been because Crash has been put into the dumpster by Muujin and by Ace. Ramune on the rise, something with the ability to fight just a little more in this early game combo as well. Gets the phase rush, never getting out of that situation. Was that Nidalee, uses the flash and just ends up dying. Crash doesn't get that extra scuttle, but finds, of course, the extra jungle camp of his alternate number in that. Nidalee is off to a good start, has the Iron Spike whip already, going to increase that clear speed even more.
Attempted wild rush in from Hollow there, but again, in the isolated 2v2s, Gango and Enti have largely come out on top. If they've been isolated.
This is actually not a cull start. This time actually appreciating the laning advantage and the laning power and prowess of Reiner and Hollow just a little more, and has gone for that, of course, the Doran's Blade start. You can, of course, bag for a cull slightly later on if you'd like. Try and use that early wave Crash dive. Instead, they're using that to hit the turret, using that to keep up, again, that relentless pressure. Yeah, just as Cog is on the top side, proxying the wave, using the Sky's Blow to get the shield to tank that wave a little longer, and trying to deny Paz something in this top side.
Yeah, and you can see Paz is basically doing the same there. Of course, with no wave to contest, he gets to also fight that wave for free, and with the Soul Furnace shield, shouldn't have too much of a problem. So, yes, it's nice early stuff. Well, yeah, exactly that. He does have a teleport, might need to use it shortly. But Cog doing his best to be real obnoxious on the top side. Maybe it's not been the priority for this series, but if Volibear can continue to be a dangerous threat in this top side, he can certainly make things difficult for Sengoku.
Paz cancelling the teleport yet again. Cog will be able to teleport bot lane when Paz can't. Watch for an all-in from Reiner. He's angling, he's warding out. Muujin's down the spot like, Gango, don't go there.
He's all right, though. He's got himself a shield and does get out, but crashes around this top side finally. It's not going to end up leading to too much. Paz clears the wave and will get back out. Down about 10 CS, but as far as the Scion goes, he doesn't care all that much. We'll get the Balmy Cinder, a refill, and some boots to back up his name. And Crash going to get over to the Scuttle Crab while Mugen just a touch later to that crab.
Crash may be looking for a 1v1 onto Mugen, but then is spotted when he pops at that Scryer's Bloom. Going to take himself the Scuttle respawn, so he does get himself level 6 off that full side of his jungle available as well, with the Wolves just respawning. Crash not shut out of this game like in Sengoku's losses. Feels like, honestly, it's not just the draft which have, as we do have ourselves a bit of an error coming through, as we will quickly get on top of that, guys. Sorry about that. Of course, this is, of course, the nature of bootleg streaming. Thank you very much for sticking with us as the stream is back to life.
There was only a momentary error. The network error has been
Absolute
resolved.
horror
I was like,
story.
is this me? Like, I had a moment like, oh no, it's me, but no, it's fine. Either way, it's all sorted. Reiner mounts up, looking
No
for
aftershock.
a potential knockover. Does get over. It's a lot of damage, and Enti in a lot of trouble. Remember, no heal for Gango. He's gone for the cleanse. The turnaround, though, is huge. Forces the heal out from Hollow to keep Ace alive.
Spellbook in, well, not even the spellbook, just using the Destiny Gate to get down to the bot side. Wave's in a horrible state for Gango and NT after that play. They don't get to shove it out. It's actually going to, I think it's going to slow push back towards V3 side of the lane. And this is now danger. This is sirens, alarms, wailing in the background for Sengoku, because Hollow has a kill, Hollow has a lane and decent spot, and Hollow is looking to make an impact in this 5th game.
He absolutely is. It's a big one for V3, but it'll cost, once again, Ace a little bit of pressure in that mid lane. Ramone got a nice shove in there, which of course is always the risk with a Twisted Fate, right? You make the plays when they're available on the map, but if it comes at the cost of a lot of CS, you can end up trading more of an advantage than you would like. Sengoku Gaming, though, have found themselves around this Herald, but Cog, Mugen, Ace, all here.
Gango's not
Enti's
there.
roamed up, so they might be looking for it, and Gango not there yet. Will be looking to come towards the mid lane. He's debating about returning towards bot now that the player appears to have come out. But that's the flash. Magnet Storm, Ramone gonna get out. Not sure how much they want for that. Hollow is there going in. Takes a lot of damage, but they won't get enough to make it stick. Everyone survives, but the HP bars are low enough to allow V3 to head over to the Herald with Sengoku's HP bars just too low to contest.
So they've used a couple of ultimates, but they've started the Herald already with top lane priority, meaning that Paz doesn't have an angle in with the freight train. That does seem to be the Herald going over. Not going to be a Dragon traded for either, because the members of Sengoku are not on that side of the map. And then Crash just says, all right, okay, if we're going to give over top lane priority for the next minute or two, need to quickly take these top lane camps, see if we can't deny some of that counter jungler, which might have come in as an after effect of that play. Dragon still not being looked at so far, and it has been such a key factor in these games so far. We have an even game in the early game for what it feels like the first time in the series.
V3 have evened out that early lead from Sengoku. It's 1-1, 15.4 to 15.2. 200 gold is barely a lead indeed for Sengoku Gaming, and it's all going to be interesting to play from here. No one's taken a Drake yet. No one's taken a tower yet. With the Herald inventory, that might be the opportunity for V3 to try and break open the map a little. Crash and Ramone now around this bot side river maybe are thinking about starting out this early Dragon, but not quite yet. Instead, Crash will pop the Scryer's Bloom to see whether Mugen is around, and kind of all she wrote for now until the Olaf heads over and does exactly what I wondered and starts up that Mountain Drake.
They have finally finding themselves the wave push they need to start that off. 20 CS lead for Gango. Of course, no Cole involved. Not going to be that huge pop from basically getting yourself a free kill from just having a dominant laning phase and getting access to farm. Now we settle down just a little bit more again, or do we? Yes, we do. Okay, cool. That's why I'm a color caster, not a play-by-play. I don't have to know when the plays are happening. I'm just like, yeah,
or do
cool.
we? Yeah, I appreciate the excitement though. That was nice. I appreciate. I appreciate the attempt. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate the attempt from Hollow as well. You know, just trying to hold Gango accountable. You know, because so often Gango this split has not been exposed the way that they had done in summer of last. You know, when they were not the best weak side player. In fact, they were one of the worst weak side players in the league, I would say. Now, in this one, coming up strong, having that poise again. But Hollow, been no slouch in the series either.
No. All I will say, though, is that V3 picked to be able to snowball with this Twisted Fate and this Nidalee. This isn't a snowball, Nightmare. This is an even game state. And if Rise and Aphelios get to scale and you're going for this kind of pick TF and the pick Nidalee, like, doesn't this favor Sengoku if they don't manage to snowball from here? Because I mean, get real rough.
So I do think that Samira has a lot of fighting options into the Rise. He's low range. That means often he's within range of a Wild Rush. That's one thing. The other thing is that, no, it's not a snowball, but it has nullified some of that 2v2 advantage, which we know Sengoku picked this bot lane for. They haven't managed to get huge CS advantages, haven't managed to get huge amounts of plates. It's still been, you know, an advantage for them, but it hasn't been capitulating the entire game like it did in of course, that third game, I suppose, right? Now we're waiting again for that next Twisted Fate ult. Ace has not been quick to pull the trigger on them. V3 not really over-forcing, which I know that DFM, actually, when they picked up TF back in summer again, when they were struggling a bit, that was one of the things that we kind of discredited them for, saying, actually, you need to just be a bit more patient. V3, if anything, a bit more on the other side of things. Maybe we would like to see them trying to punish this bot lane a bit more, but they don't want to coin flip the game on a bot lane fight.
Yeah, flipping this one here would be a bit rough. That'll be plate number 2. Reiner goes crashing down, but it's a little too late. The lantern has already been taken. Just a second play over towards this Aphelios, who's still honestly laning pretty well here. See how much of the wave the Hollow can pick up. And that's the problem is the later this game goes, the more the 4-1 becomes a problem. And yes, Twisted Fate probably has more ways to get out of the lane than the Rise, though.
Flash is back available from Reiner.
Well.
Just looking to see if there was anything coming in, see if there was a mount up Flash auto coming in. Not to be had this time. Ace has a deep ward onto the lane. This is really important, just knowing when you can start shoving out, when you can get priority. Rise was stealing a blue buff out of lane, spot on that pink ward on bot side too. Going to be plates over to the side of Ace
There's
and
Mugen.
Not the Herald. But
The,
they're using
the
Rise ult to get themselves back into lane, stop some of that wave dying to tower. Don't get to stop the Herald itself. Ace, Mugen, getting themselves something out of that Herald. Not really, again, an advantage, which really breaks open the state of this game.
Is a slight gold lean onto V3 though after that play, which is always nice for them. They'll be happy with that, I suppose. Though it doesn't quite get them a tower, it's just a couple plates, but they get the plates before the 14-minute mark, which is kind of critical. Crash takes a spear, but the healing from Gromp comes out just afterwards, so it's not all that much of a problem. Minute and a half-ish until the Ocean Drake will spawn, which will be the second of the game. Sengoku Gaming, I'm sure, would like to stack their dragons. They've got the first 2 dragons, I think, in every single game. It's just been the ones afterwards which have sometimes been a little bit more contested.
Yeah, so we have Stridebreaker coming in from Crash now. Because it's not going to be the Gore Drinker, not going to be anything tankier than that either. Of course, we occasionally not in the LJL, but across some solo queue games, seeing stuff like Chemtank, Olaf come in. Stridebreaker, why was I saying Norlis? Olaf, that's the one. Is really bursty. And it's completely unrelated to this game. I don't know where that came from, just the champion popped into my head. Stridebreaker Olaf is very bursty. There's a good chance that if Ace is out of position looking for something onto Ramune, and Crash comes around the corner, lands that Stridebreaker, that's going to be a dead Twisted Fate. You've got yourself an Everfrost, that's nice, but dealing with the Ragnaroking and rolling Crash on the Angry Viking, that's something to look out for. The hook barely misses on the approach towards this bot river. Sengoku, V3, they are again just playing things so close to the wire.
Cog chunked a little bit before this dragon. Of course, we'll have the chance to reset and be available for a teleport, but V3 will be grateful they didn't get picked off just beforehand, because that would have been really frustrating. But both top players now are resetting. Both will be looking to come over to this dragon. About 15 seconds till the spawn. Everfrost completed for Twisted Fate. Night Harvester for Nidalee. Similar mythics coming through on the other side for Sengoku, though. And the important one is that Aphelios has one and Samira doesn't right now, which would be a big deal if the fight was to break out.
Exactly. Well, they've stopped off for their tier 2 boots, although, looking at the CS numbers, I'm not sure Hollow would have quite enough, because, of course, TF has the plates as well. Got to stop talking about that. There's a fight coming in. Twisted Fate, Volibear, they're going for it.
Indeed, and that's the Ragnarok down, so that could potentially be a big deal. V3 will start up the dragon, and Ace is going to be left under tower a little bit. Ramune going to come over. Look, the Paz is still on the top side, has the teleport.
They're farming Krogs. They're not going to go for anything on this.
Yeah, I think they give it up. They decided it's not worthwhile, don't really have the control they were looking for, and will happily just take that opportunity to get Paz some time on that tower in the top side. Gango, though, could be unspotted by the Flash. Is away, has the cleanse, but needs to get out. He's just too slow. The Flash wasn't far enough.
Gango, what were we saying earlier? Wow, in 2020 summer, this guy was a little bit punished for being on weak side. He was one of the worst weak side players in the league. Just positioned Pat a little poorly and was out of position. We haven't seen that so far in spring, but V3 making it resurface just a bit in game 5. Loses his life down there, uses both summons, and the ult was blocked by the Blade Whirl. Really getting just a bit outplayed in that situation. I'm gonna have to see what happened in entirety. Thresh backing on a ward. They actually saw it die though. They literally saw this ward die, and then Gango slow on the uptake there. Reiner positions the crash down to between Fellows and the turret. Doesn't manage to backstep out of it, and flashes to the other side. Still gets caught by the CC. Gango goes down, and of course killer goes to Hollow, and Hollow on that Samira last game. Well, we saw how hard they could carry.
Indeed, we did, and that's a big one. It gives about 1,000 gold, the lead to V3 right now, but Sengoku going to start up this second Herald, and it's not like they're in a bad position this game either. Let's not make too many bones about it. Both these teams are pretty even. If V3 can continue to get picks like that, then they are absolutely in a position to get this one. People getting caught out by Twisted Fate and Nidalee and the like is tale as old as those champions have been in the game. On the other side, though, Sengoku, if they can pull off the 1-4, all the team fights with their champions, they've definitely got some options. Herald will be a helpful one for them, as Gango and Enti feel the need to stay back from the tower, as they're a bit afraid of where everybody else could turn up. There's a few teleports and destinies available to make things challenging. It looks like first turret of the game will be going the way of V3's bot lane.
So, Reiner back on Rel, finding the pick, breaking the momentum of this 2v2. Just like they did in Game 4. Well, not quite the same. Less teleports involved, I suppose, although Ace did make their way down there to get the first kill onto Enti under tower. V3, though, they have escaped one of the mechanisms Sengoku have used to great effect in this series so far, in using the permanent shove of that Aphelios and Thresh. But now they can't do that. They have to sit under tower. They've lost their tower now. Now I have to see, of course, how Sengoku are going to respond to not having that same dominance in the 2v2, but they do have this Rise, of course, still holding that Twisted Fate to account. See if Sengoku can switch to a plan B around that.
Indeed, and it's not like Aphelios is weak either, don't get me wrong. He's got his items coming online pretty evenly. It's just, it's not ahead of the Samira, which it could have been without a couple kills going over. And now with the first turret going over as well, it's brought Hollow back into the game. It's happened before, it'll happen again this one. And Samira with 2 kills and an Immortal Shield Bow can certainly do some work in the backline. No Cho'Gath this time to feast her down.
There is, of course, a Rune Prison. That one hurts. There's also an Everfrost, similarly kind of nasty. Actually, interesting thing. I'm pretty sure the Everfrost doesn't count as a projectile. I'm fairly sure that goes through the Blade Wall. I'm trying to remember, because, of course, I'm an Ori player myself. Ori builds a lot of the Everfrost right now. Pretty sure I've caught out a Samira or 2 doing that. So I have to see how Hollow best utilizes that. Maybe blocking out an Olaf Fax can be important too. There are a lot of things to work around. I think mainly, though, if you can get rid of Rise and his Essence Flux and his Qs, of course, coming through, that will be an important one. Don't want to get any of those Overload combos coming through.
Absolutely, you don't. The EQ combos from Ramune get pretty scary. Essence Flux and Overload do a lot of work. Still, though, we're going to be left in a bit of a lull state again, probably waiting on this next Infernal Dragon, I imagine, before too much more action happens, unless someone is
a Herald
really
in inventory.
mispositioned.
That's the thing, though, you know, there's a Herald inventory for Crash. It's taking
they're probably saving it.
Now.
I'm assuming they're saving it for this dragon. Would it time out too late, though?
I'm actually not sure. No, it does have enough time. It's almost certainly going to be used in the mid lane when the dragon is about to spawn. So think about, 20 to 30 seconds before that dragon spawns. That's right when you're really looking for it. To force a reaction to defend the mid tower in a time window that, of course, is more useful to be at that dragon. Olaf heading down towards bot side, though, might use it there instead, just saying, actually, this is going to be a guaranteed turret.
And there's Ace around about, but just backs away, having seen the Herald spawn. Muujin is here as well, but I don't necessarily think they want to take this fight right now. Ramune is pretty strong. I suspect he might back off that one and get himself a full Seraph's Embrace. The tier is stacked, and he's got the needlessly large rod.
Flash!
In goes Reiner, though. Gango gets the cleanse, getting pulled back, trying to get as much damage down as he can, but there's going to be a Twisted Fate in the back. Hollow, wild rushes away, but taken so low and goes down. That's a shutdown. 1-for-1 at the minute. Crash doing a lot of work. Ramune as well. The Essence Flux is all going wild. It's 2-for-2 now. It's such an even fight. Big hook onto Cog, but the Stormbringer is there, and it just shuts down the tower and shuts down Ramune's attempts to get more in this fight. 3-for-2 is the one for V3. They come out on top.
what is Gango doing? He has no flash. You should be timing these summoners. Reiner had it back available, and Gango has stood there in the middle lane going, well, I just want to farm the wave. It doesn't work out. Gets the ultimate, the emote plague that time, blocked out by the Blade Whirl of Hollow. It just doesn't go through. Gango on the Aphelios is getting picked apart by V3. While it was a good turnaround from Crash and Ramonade to even up a little bit in that damage department, they lose themselves a dragon, they lose themselves some kills. Gonna go into the replay to see what happens. Look, on the bottom of your screen, no flash onto Gango, and you know Reiner is literally within the flash W range. You can't get out of that. Zero counterplay, and that starts Hollow off onto a good foot as well. He does get shut down. At least Ramonade manages to answer that. But the longer this fight goes on, the more gold cards you have to be wary of. And yes, a Mercury Treads is nice, but Cog with the ult and the gold card, that is just far too much damage. Rank 2 of Volibear Ultimate is so much base damage. It does crush down its Ramonade.
All right, that's a bit of a noise of surprise because we've got a Baron start from Sengoku Gaming. We decided that's the time to go for it. Muji not here quite yet. It's down to 2,000. It's going to be a bit of a flip. You know, it's going to go in, and it's taken by the Nilly! Reiner will go down. It's a 2 for none right now. They're going to try and get the trade out, but it's already Baron stolen. They come forward with the Realm Walk. Cog caught in place. Going to get stunned again with the Rune Prison. Cog trying to get out. He's so low. The Everfrost buys time. Crash trying to find the undertow. It lands. It's a slow flash forward for Gango. The Moonshot just needs one more auto. Lands the Moonlight Vigil just misses, and V3 get out with 3. The Baron steal gets them what they wanted. Sengoku went for the flip, and they lose so much of it.
They go for the coin flip, and they end up on their asses. They just don't end up zoning out Mugen. Enough spear lands. The combo comes through, going straight into another replay, out of the replay, into a Baron steal, back into a replay. It is a damn close run thing. They notice that V3 haven't had the correct resets, but Reiner buys enough time. Huge amounts of CC coming in from Reiner yet again, and yes, they die. Yes, Hollow dies, but then they just manage to disengage effectively. Ace has himself over Everfrost at the start of this fight, has gold cards. Ace on this Twisted Fate, not necessarily been blowing up the sidelines, but has been giving enough safety to play around the map.
Ramonade Flash Pistol gets done by the Thundering Smash. They're going to try and go under the tower with the Stormbringer. It's shut down. The roots aren't going to be enough, and Cog gets the rise. It's a big deal. Crash does not secure the blue buff.
He's down 2 levels after that series of plays. Crash. We thought that actually the early game lead for this jungler would be enough in this game, and it has been anything but that. Sengoku once again not able to play around this 2v2 of Aphelios and Thresh to the point where they can actually use it outside of the early trades. They get the early priority, but what happens after that? V3 have adapted. They've improvised. Well, we'll yet to see if they've overcome it in this series.
And Gango feels like he's safe with the Lantern, and it's just not being enough. Like, yes, he's got the cleanse, but the Lantern's not taking him far enough away to safety, and it's been problematic. Of course, they still can come back in this game. It's not insurmountable yet. About a minute left on this Baron, but I don't think they're going to get too much more from this one, RV3. So they'll settle for about a 4,000 gold lead at this point, and, you know, that's a big swing in power. The roller coaster goes back towards V3, 73% odd chance to win. About 2 minutes to the Infernal Drake, and Sengoku need to try and find a better way to deal with Reiner coming in on this rel, because he has been a thorn in their side on that champion all series long.
I just don't understand how Reiner gets his best champion, gets the best support champion right now, maybe outside of Alistar. If you have rel into something which isn't Alistar, though, often they are the best champion in that support role. Reiner continually landing the picks, landing the teamfight ultimates. Gango caught out just so many times on one of his favored picks, a champion which he has been so successful on both this year and the last. Now it's going to be onto the shoulders of both him and Ramonade in the later team fights at the hands of a gold deficit now. Towers being pushed down across the map. See what they can do against this rampant team of V3 right now.
Indeed. Ramonade is real strong right now. That is the Destiny Gate pop to see who's going to be around, see whether anybody is where they shouldn't be, and does dissuade the dive. But Ramonade is strong, so is this Aphelios. You know, got 2 items, the Hurricane in as well. He definitely gets the damage down, but he's got to have NT landing those lanterns real well, because they have been diving for him so hard, and they've got a lot of ways to get to him, in fairness. Volibear shoving in the bot side, Samira at 2 items as well, and Ramonade now on this split push. He's ready to get going, but, you know, it's coming to the point where there's already a fairly significant advantage for V3, up
Well,
about 3,000 gold.
The level 16 spike for Rise, very large actually, because remember, it's not just the length of the distance of the Wild Warp, which is increased with that ultimate now. It is actually the combo damage, the EQ damage. What happens when you land a Q onto a pop target? Well, he's pretty close to it. Ace will reach it first and have the increased range on the Destiny, and of course the lowered cooldown. But Rise might just be able to pop this front line with the Void Staff pickup, and of course the closer level, the ever closer level 16. They're going to have to give up another dragon, though. I think they realize this is not their time to fight. Need another item, need another level on various carries. They have to go back to the drawing board in this game, but they don't have much time.
I don't think any of us on the desk expected this. They didn't expect V3 to come back on red side like this. This has been a much improved V3, honestly, throughout this series. We've seen them play a little bit more standard, a little less away from the tricky, intricate, experimental poke siege comps they were trying that just weren't quite the right way. That's a Magnet Storm popped? Yeah, that's a fat finger.
Oh no, the Sadamumu. The question is, of course, the thing is that, like, Sengoku don't know he popped that. That's the thing. Can they just sit there long enough?
Cooldown either.
It's not on the longest cooldown. Actually, it's almost a quarter off already. But, I mean, there's no chance of Gango getting flashed on with that one just yet. And now, stare down what is still a game in the balance, but one which is tilting towards V3, just teetering on the precipice. No one predicted Sengoku to lose outside of the LJL mainstream analysts, and of course ourselves as well. We were hovering between, 3 1s and 3 0s. Ramune trading the roots using the spellbook cleanse, at least. You can see the danger of what happens when you have that Fire Cannon Lichbane onto Twisted Fate. The length of and the range of those stunts is so incredible. Sengoku, down in the deficit. But from the predictions, no one expected it to get this close. I mean, some people thought it'd be a 3-2. I don't think anyone thought V3 would come out to this commanding a lead in so many games.
I think NT as well has never got worse than third in the LJ. I think we've even pretty much got third pretty much every time, in fairness. He has been so consistently good, but this would be the first time, I think, ever he would end up not being third if they lose this game. It's about 2.8 thousand gold that V3 have in the advantage. But there's some scary items in on this affair. Scary items indeed on the rise as well. Yes, Ace can throw good poke out, good sort of pick. But in a team fight, if this rise gets to free fire, or Gango gets to free fire, it gets scary for V3.
It's very scary indeed. Hollow not on their third item just yet. They think they need to have a reset. Cog just biding their time. Level 17, highest level in the game. Ramune has that level 16 mark too. Keep an eye on that. It means that those Essence Fluxes and those Overload combos are going to effectively one-shot the likes of your Hollow and your Ace. Has himself an Oblivion Orb too for a little bit more anti-heal, which can be important because he will be spreading it onto those diving champions heading in, and if Hollow is amongst them, very important. Cog doesn't even care for picking up the farm right now. Just sitting and waiting, biding their time. Has that teleport, third tier of that of the ultimate coming down. It's going to be so important to reach the likes of Aphelios and the Rise. Got the group of Gango here again. Watch for Rhino, watch for the Flash. He's hit these combos so often, and if the fingers are not quick enough from Sengoku, expect it to be a series-winning play.
A storm is brewing, and Volibear will surely be wanting to bring it. Ramune wisely doesn't walk straight to the wave, I think, there. It could have gotten a little bit risky, but the Baron will start. Might well do, indeed. Crashes around, and Sengoku don't want to just see this one over, but the vision control is in the favor of V3 right now. They've managed to get hit early. They get the Scuttle Crab as well. That Baron vision could prove really challenging for Sengoku Gaming. That's the advantage that V3 have to their name at this point, really. That kind of control over the river that Sengoku will try and come in and contest, but they don't have much in the way of wards and inventory. It's Ramune with a control ward, and that's it.
Well, that's why they're resetting. They have to reset right now. V3 doing a similar thing, but they know that the dragon's up in a minute. They got their vision on the top side, and now it's going to be really interesting to see that if Sengoku will try and reset and use their vision on bot side, because now V3 have the option of, well, we can just trade Dragon for Baron if we really want to. We don't care about giving over a singular Infernal Dragon, but if we give ourselves another Baron with the lead we have, there's a chance we can snowball this game into the death of the series. gonna be a culmination of members from both teams on the bot side. Sengoku not willing to give over Dragon Vision, and Cog is caught with a hook.
It's double stopwatch for both carries of Sengoku as well. Keep your eyes on that. Gold card comes out, but it's only onto Paz. He takes no damage. And Cog takes the worst for wear on that trade, but of course he's a volley bear. He's got ways to get himself more health back with that Stormbringer. The Storm is about to crash indeed. 15 seconds till Infernal Drake. V3 look like they want to take the 5v5. They don't want to trade for Baron. They don't want to give up this soul. They want to get everything if they can help it. But Crash, Paz, everybody else from Sengoku are here to try and make this even more challenging. That's a decent poke. He gets the Ragnarok out of Crash, who's now at half HP, which could prove problematic. A couple of honey fruit, and Crash is going to be forced away. That's such a big deal. They're going to have to give up Soul off some fantastic poke. The range there does V3 everything they need. Now Cog's going up, he takes a lot of stuns, has to Stormbringer away because of the amount of damage that comes out, and Crash is about to get ganked instead. Ace gets everything. The Everfrost is there, and he's dead. He's down. Crash, is it? That's a big Magnet Storm as well, but he's a little bit alone right now. It's only Paz who's caught in there. Big death sentence as well. Holo having to flash away, but the damage comes out. Ramane gets that one, and Reiner about to fall as well, but has got a mount up to get his speed away. Ramane flashes, but won't get what he needs. He's chasing away, but it means that actually he's not around to cause damage elsewhere. Now Mugen thinks about going in, but the Everfrost slows him, and that is actually a 2-for-1 in favor of V3 after Reiner gets left a little bit worse for wear at the end of that fight as well.
I mean, Cog could have gone down too. I mean, I think the damage trade was in favor of Sengoku, but just the health bars hit 0 for more people on the side of Sengoku. Just not enough damage coming out from Gango and Ramane to finish off the fight in that kind of timescale at this point. And with the Infernal Soul going over to V3, they have a lot more to bring to bear on that one. Crash just gets separated for the team, picked off by the Twist of Fate ultimate. Gets the Everfrost out of him, and Ace, really good pickoff. He actually randomly stopped. Actually, there's a random stopwatch at the end of that. If TF had been there just a second earlier, maybe you get that gold card onto someone important. As it stands, though, we've got ourselves a Dragon start. I think Sengoku going for the Hail Mary, force out a teleport.
Does indeed. Now, Cog is potentially and he's split off right now, but
he has
Cog
no ult
as well. And is in a difficult position. They won't go for the hook. If that had missed, I think NT could have been in a lot of trouble. Does get the teleport, though. And the Infernal Soul with 3 Infernal Drakes gives so much damage to V3. Thing is, Sengoku aren't shy of damage. You know, they can still trade back. It's just difficult. And Crash has taken like that last fight really was won by the fact that Crash got chunked out just by ranged poke from Ace and from
This is
Mugen.
the difficult thing, right? Because you're looking at these traps, which are going to proc Infernal Soul. You're going to look at these spears, which are going to do the same thing. The Sky Splitters doing similar. If you just walk into a random skill shot, you could just be out of the fight.
Ace is not here. Doesn't
Look at
have
that,
teleport.
NT
Does
chunked
have
out.
Destiny. He is, but he's going to come back out just okay. Ramonate is around. There's the Destiny. It's what they were looking for. Where is Ace coming? Is he even going to use the gate half of his ultimate? Everfrost missing there. And here he comes. It's towards the back end of it. They know where he is because of vision. Crash isn't in danger, and that's the second big global tool down for V3 Esports, but they get position in mid lane, and Sengoku don't really get that much for their time.
They don't. They get a TF ult, and, well, that's on a low enough cooldown at this point in the game. Now it's the start from V3 after Sengoku have ceded control, ceded vision. Of course, with the Infernal Soul and the poke coming out, there's every chance that they lose someone on the approach.
Gold card comes through onto Crash, but he's going to be mostly found down to half HP. They need to get in here. They need to contest Story down. I don't think they can even get there. It's too late. It's too slow. And now the fight commences. Sengoku at the back of it trying to buy time. Cog gates go. And in goes Holo. Mugen is there as well. It's a double for this Samira. And that is a triple and V3. I'm sure they've done it. Paz is a zombie and Sengoku fall when it matters most. Mugen, Holo, take your hats off. It's been a beautiful game. It'll be a beautiful turnaround. 2 games in a row. Blue side will not be the victors in game 5. And V3 against the odds, against the statistics, find a game 5 victory. It's Sengoku that are scraping silver. More like bronze because they won't even make the 3rd place. Instead, V3 will head on to that semi-finals.
It's a triple for Holo. It's a triple for V3. Elation on the faces, and I'm sure there's a fair amount of relief in there too. They took us the distance. We honestly thought it could be a 3-0 to Sengoku, but not to be done today. Absolutely not to be outdone a V3. Sengoku walk home without even making it to the to face Rascal Jesters.
Indeed, it is. But we have still got ourselves a bit of an analyst desk to break down not just this game, but the series. So hang around, take a deep breath, calm down. We're back in a minute or two to take a much bigger picture of this whole thing.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Must One Initialize Nightmare. Gentlemen, we have a victor, and that winner is V3 Esports. Congratulations over to them. The upset of playoffs so far, the first one that I would definitely say is true, and what a performance they did it in, and in very V3 style, figuring out on the fifth game they can win on red side just like they did against the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. But this game, there's a lot to break down, and gentlemen, let's start in the place which was having both myself in the production seat and Nymera literally in the casting seat exacerbated to no end, and that's pick and ban phase. Go on, Nymera, take it away.
I mean, again, it looks like Sengoku just had a really high priority on the Aphelios Thresh, and they gave over the Rel. And yes, it had some early leads, but what we saw was that even in just this 2v2 isolated, Gango was getting picked off throughout the game. This isn't something we've seen this split this much, but Gango looked out of sorts. He was picked off, and this had been one of the strongest strengths in the LJL. Sengoku's bot lane and how they roll around the map, taking advantage after advantage, was made toothless in 2 games in a row by V3 to take the win.
I mean, let's talk about that a little bit further. Initialize. We saw the early game kind of be very even for a lot of the sides. If like Sengoku were getting CS on Gango, but Hollow got the kill, so it was kind of, well, it's still even though there's a 30 CS differential that almost equals a kill anyway. So it's like, oh, it's kind of even. Cog getting a lead like he should, and then there's mid lane to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ace got out of lane a lot. He lost a lot of ways, but it's a TF thing. He gets out to the side lanes, and the eventually it just gets to this point where he is a threat with all the gold cards and just the range. Oh my days, the range. Rise and Aphelios, depending on gun setup, don't have the greatest range, and it really proved problematic in the 5v5s, where you would think, well, surely Rise and Aphelios just more DPS than a Twisted Fate, right? Well, yeah, that's true. If you can start firing, like, you have to be able to hit something.
If you're not dead by the time the fight comes out in earnest, yeah.
I mean, let's zoom on a little bit into this game to one of the big defining fights, Nymera. This was the fight around the mid turret where V3 are able to get 3 kills. They get the dragon, but Sengoku don't get nothing for this fight.
They do manage to get a turnaround, at least. They get a couple of kills for it, but I think at this point, we start realizing that, because this is the one where Gango is kind of stood up in lane, and then Reiner flashes in for a W and the Magnet Storm, but Gango knew he had no flash. Reiner, you should be... And I'm just going to switch over to the mainstream just so we can see the interview players on stage there while we talk over it. But I think this is a really important thing for me because I look at what Gango was doing in this game, and it's so out of character for what Gango had shown for the entirety of the split. It's a return to some of the problems that he had in last year. And yes, they do get a turnaround. They do manage to turn around, particularly with Ramune, but it wasn't enough. Rise wasn't online in that game. And Ace with the follow-up gold cards with the fire cannon, he was doing absolutely huge amounts of work to pin down the carries, as Sam was saying, when they didn't have the range to outpace that Twisted Fate.
Exactly that. And I think the other one is just like there is that big moment, right, where they get that lead, and then there's a couple other bits, isn't it? So just like Crash multiple times getting chunked out before fights is really problematic. Yes, he's the Olaf. Yes, he can Ragnarok, but if he's not using that aggressively, he's using that defensively, then he becomes significantly more difficult to play, especially into the range we were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's zoom on a little bit further into this game. Because, gentlemen, we're going to be covering this in far more depth over on the LJL OU podcast.
Come
if you are
watch.
interested in that, you can find that on all
boy.
podcast audio platforms and YouTube. Initialize, let's begin with this Baron steal.
Yes. So,
Or around the Baron situation,
yeah, so
really.
Sengoku thought they had
reset
Mugen
timing.
on a back timer, and they did. And they were burning it down real fast, and they were probably 2 seconds, if that, away from being able to just burn that Baron down. It was really that close. But a flash, pounce, spear into, or flashing in for the smite, got the Baron steal for V3. They then get out with 3 members. Yes, they lose them, and Cog managing to escape despite loads burn to try and get him. So it's not even like Sengoku can hold on to their summoners to try and punish on the push. So V3 got out with 3. They were already in a lead. They get more of a lead off that, and that makes it even more difficult. Yes, of course, Sengoku had a great teamfight comp. They really did. They had a great 1-4 comp. But 1-4ing into Baron is tough. Team fighting is tough when you've lost vision, when you're losing map control off Baron, when you're already having this frustration with getting onto the carries that matter because of the range discrepancy that we've been talking about, and just Mugen being able to get there just in time. I'm talking 2 seconds max would have been all that Sengoku needed. Either way, they thought they had the weighted flip. It lands wrong side. They get tails. They lose the Baron.
No Cho'Gath this time.
And there's no Cho'Gath this time, and it all goes a little awry. Well, it's already awry at this point. The wheels start falling off, and they're running on like a tricycle suddenly.
It very much felt that way. Obviously, V3 are able to secure that Dragon Soul without any form of contention, but it was very close around this fight, Nayamera. A lot of exchanges were happening, and it almost looked like there could be a turnaround.
Exactly, because there was a bit of a pick onto Crash, and that meant that so he lost a lot of HP, lost the Ragnarok, and that meant that V3 were emboldened to chase them down to them in a turret, like you were saying, and then but the problem was that Ace just manages to pick off Crash as he separates from the team, gets the kill, and suddenly I was like, okay, right, 5v4, we can start going for more of this. We still got gold cards, still got everything. But Ace randomly hits Zhonya's, gets stuck in place outside of the fight, and then the fight happens as a 4v4 without the gold card locking down one of those key carries. Without the gold card, well, the damage turns around and becomes scary. Luckily, for the side of V3, the damage isn't all nucleated onto single people. One person does go down, but it's not nearly enough. They only get the 1 kill, and they get turned around for 2 more kills, so V3 pick up that as well. It was a lucky fight in a lot of ways after that early stumble from, the misfinger of the Zhonya's. V3, though, walk away with that, and that's kind of the last nail in the coffin, because you're sat there and like, oh, well, okay then. You're losing even the winning fights, and you've lost a fight versus the Baron already. Good luck trying to beat us now.
And V3 used their resources very effectively, didn't they, Initialize, to close out the last part of this game?
Yeah, they did. Gangos Aphelios struggled to be able to get out the levels of DPS we've come to know from him on the Aphelios and team fights. Moonlight Vigils were often blocked by the Blade Well in particular from Hollow, who was pretty on point with those. Normally you expect to hit most of your Moonlight Vigils, right? They are really important to Aphelios and his team fight damage, particularly either at the end or at the beginning of a fight. They tend to turn things around, and it's normally off people missing them that things go wrong. If you can just force it to disappear by pressing your W, then you're in a great position, and then they get to kind of move on from there, having already got the gold lead, having got the Infernal Soul, having then going and taking the Baron fight afterwards with the advantages they have, Crash not being able to get there in time. Baron comes down, it's a full ace. They've already got the advantages they built it through the rest of the game. And from there, it's lights out. A final triple for Hollow, whose Samira once again was very strong. And V3 come up to a deserved win against predictions and against what we expected from previous form for both of these teams.
Yeah, that was just a huge expectation that Sengoku Gaming were going to win this one. They were heavy favorites in a lot of different aspects, and they were upset. Something I really liked about the last little part of that was how they used Ace's Destiny Gate, having him force push in the mid lane. So even if not, they didn't get the full ace on Sengoku Gaming, they still would have had enough of a wave to push in and maybe try and end, even if one or two members of Sengoku survived their onslaught.
Yeah, this wasn't a typical Twisted Fate game. This wasn't popping out every cooldown, being very aggressive and snowballing the game, but it was, again, very good at just manipulating the map just to how they wanted it. It wasn't about over-forcing, it was just about setting up things just the way they needed it to, and then holding that gold card all the times. It was just more of a, again, that kind of unseen threat of just like, oh, Twisted Fate, he still has ult, we can't play around this, and then using him to continually push in on top side and set up the map how they wanted to, really works out for the side of E3.
And it's given them a win. Ace has found an opportunity, and the side of V3 Esports are going to round number 3 to face off against Rascal Jesters. I'm going to hold off giving any of our expectations for that match, because if you're interested in those, listen to our podcast, or even better, ladies and gentlemen, come back for this stream on Saturday at 9 a.m. We will be bringing live coverage of that series. Oh, and of the finals that will be happening after, the day after, just that small little thing. But from myself, Initialize, a Nightmare who's been playing producer and colorcaster today. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you very soon.
Thanks for watching, guys.